Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Industrial Packaging Podcast with me, your host, Nathan Dube, Digital Marketing Specialist at Industrial Packaging. On today's episode, we will discuss biodegradable shrink film versus plastic shrink film, pros and cons. So without further ado, let's get into today's topic. Before the arrival of COVID-19, a large focus was on reducing plastic products like shopping bags, single-use containers, and packaging films. Recently, however, the EPA has further relaxed environmental protections. In some states, reusable bags and containers have been banned in place of single-use plastic. This is a much different approach than previous environmental trends, which signals a big comeback for single-use plastics. In today's episode, we will take a look at the pros and cons of biodegradable shrink films and plastic shrink films. As a result, you'll have a better understanding of each product and be able to make an informed decision about the best packaging product for your needs. First up, we have biodegradable shrink film. And the first question is, what are the pros of biodegradable shrink film? In a world more focused on trying to reduce the harm to our planet Earth, biodegradable plastic products such as biodegradable shrink films are quickly becoming a common item searched for online. Biopolymer-based films like NatureStar are made from plants such as rice compounds. Norel is another brand of biodegradable plant-based shrink film alternative. These products are made from biopolymers and are earth-friendly plastics, quote-unquote, of the emerging modern world. These materials have a similar physical texture and aesthetic to traditional plastics. However, they are created from plant-based, biodegradable, and sustainable compounds. These compounds break down naturally into their plant-based byproducts. This process happens much faster than traditional plastics. Traditional plastics can take thousands of years to break down and result in the presence of microplastics in our rainwater, rivers, streams, and oceans. For the environmentally minded, biopolymer-based shrink films may seem like a godsend or even a miracle. And while this cutting-edge technology may be both of those things, there are some drawbacks to using these biopolymer-based shrink film alternatives. Now we will review the cons of biodegradable shrink film. Biopolymer-based shrink films like those detailed above are few and far between. There are currently only a few brands available, and they can be pricey when compared to traditional plastic shrink film. Furthermore, as they are not commonly used on many packaging lines the world over, these new materials have not been put to the test in many real-world applications. It is unclear if they will be able to offer the same qualities that plastic shrink film provides, such as strength, clarity, gloss, haze, and other related elements of traditional plastic shrink film. Now we will review the pros and cons of traditional plastic shrink film. First, we will review the pros of traditional plastic shrink film. When it comes to flexible packaging supplies, plastic shrink films are some of the most environmentally friendly packaging materials currently available on the face of the planet. Despite the occasional instances of greenwashing campaigns, the truth remains. Shrink film and certain types of other soft plastic formulations are our most sustainable options at this time. Plastic shrink films such as polyolefin, polyethylene, and polyvinyl chloride are also tried and true, trusted packaging materials that have stood the test of time. They are currently used on millions of packaging lines the world over. In a time where many businesses are going to be even more focused on their bottom line, adopting more expensive biofilms is a challenging thing to do. This is especially true given the new relaxation of the EPA standards and the return of popular single-use plastic items to the marketplace. Despite the well-known environmental issues with most flexible packaging plastics, they still have a significantly less impact on the environment. This is due to a much lower carbon footprint than alternatives such as glass, metal, fabric, paper, and cardboard. And while it's an unfortunate truth, many people do not realize shrink films are entirely recyclable. Depending on the volume of shrink film being recycled, some companies may even be able to turn a profit from recycling their used shrink film. However, for companies to properly recycle these films, they need to turn to a third-party waste management company who has the proper infrastructure to recycle these materials, as most municipal recycling centers do not have the infrastructure to recycle these formulations of plastic. Now let's take a look at the cons of traditional plastic shrink films. To reiterate, while plastic shrink films are recyclable, many people are unaware of this. As a result, they end up in landfills and find their way to waterways, rivers, streams, and eventually the ocean. In this way, they contribute to a growing problem with ocean plastics. Furthermore, there are some types of products that should not be packaged in shrink film, including any product that cannot withstand the heat of a shrink tunnel. If your products are very heat sensitive, it is ill-advised to use shrink film to package them. Finally, while shrink films are quite affordable materials, the machinery required to use them properly is not. The range of investments for shrink tunnels and sealers can range from $10,000 for a semi-automatic line to over $100,000 for a fully automatic one. Unless you have the budget or financing capabilities to make such a large purchase, shrink film may not make sense for your packaging needs. That being said, you can do small runs of products with a heat gun and a tabletop shrink tunnel, which will cost you significantly less money. So, which type of shrink film is right for you? When trying to decide between biopolymer-based shrink films and traditional plastic shrink films, you need to make a few decisions in advance. Some of the questions that you will want to ask yourself are: 1. What is your monthly volume of products packaged? If you are low volume, plastic shrink film would be a better choice. 2. Is the type of film you want to use going to be available regularly? Right now, the supply chain is tight. Plastic shrink film made in the USA has the best availability. 3. What are you willing to spend on materials in exchange for less of an environmental impact? If you are open to spending more to save the earth, biofilms are your best choice. 4. How are your customers going to react to your choice of material? If your consumers are heavily environmentally minded, biofilms are likely a better choice. 5. What are some conventional alternatives to shrink film if it's not a good fit for you? Paper or cardboard packaging may be useful and, if done properly, can be fully recycled. With all of the information above, you should be able to make a decision on whether traditional plastic shrink films or bio-based shrink films are the best choice for your products. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for another episode of the Industrial Packaging Podcast with me, your host, Nathan Dube, Digital Marketing Specialist at Industrial Packaging. I hope you enjoyed today's topic, and I hope we see you on the next episode. But until then, I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.